Fans, welcome to this week's Sports Chat. Lots going on. Cougar soccer has now moved to 4-0. They have defeated both Scott County schools.
Great season starting out for Coach Wolfenbarger on the soccer front up here at the school. Pretty dominating wins too. I mean, scoring lots of goals, exciting product. Have a game coming up this Thursday. Hopefully.
No, they don't. It's been canceled.
It's been canceled. That's tough.
Catholic canceled on them.
But, well, we'll have a schedule for you soon out there.
Their first home game will actually be, I think, April 7th now.
They are on spring break, and most of the sports right now have a pretty big gap this week. I know softball and baseball come back the first week of April. So once spring break is over, then you can see some exciting Cougar spring sports. And on the other Cougar front, Ethan Jeffers, quarterback for the Cougars, invited to the elite camp that Rivals puts on in Atlanta. I believe it's possibly Nike.
No, it's the Nike Elite Camp.
It's the Elite 11, very, very exclusive camp. It's the top 11 players at each position they consider in the Southeast. And Ethan went down, put up some pretty good stuff, pretty good showing. I mean, just to get invited to that place is very rare air. I mean, they had a 3-day event. Ethan was there, I think, all 3 days as an invited participant. They had an open open session for players, and over 2,000 people showed up at the open session, and apparently none of them were invited to come down and do anything on Sunday. So that was the very high standards the place had. And of course, Ethan put up huge numbers this past season for the Cougars. He was 26th in the country in passing among the junior class, according to Max Preps. And those are just eye-popping numbers. I mean, you combine that, very high GPA, I think Ethan has a 4.0 GPA, got a really nice ACT score up in the 20s last time I talked to him about it. That's the kind of numbers with his passing numbers and those kind of smarts that can probably get him some pretty good Division I offers. People love smart quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah. And, Ethan, we can joke about it all we want. Ethan is a student of the game. He studies film on huddle constantly.
Yeah, I mean, it shows up on the field. You watch him play, and I love everybody who plays for Campbell County. They all give their all. They all put their heart into it. Ethan's not blessed as some people are, some quarterbacks are, with Division I level wide receivers. I mean, the receivers, Preston is a good receiver. Joseph Elkins is a very good all-state receiver. Puts up big numbers. But, those guys are 5'8", 5'9".
There's no Cordarrelle Patterson.
There's no big 6'4" receiver that's going to run a 4.4 40 out there for him. And most of the elite quarterbacks tend to have that one guy on their team, and it helps them a lot. And Ethan, like I say, he gets good help from them. Those guys are good at taking passes and going to the house with them. But I can only imagine his numbers would be even better if he got to work with receivers of that caliber on a regular basis. And I said, trying not to take anything away from his current receivers. It's just, it is what it is when you're playing at smaller town schools like Campbell County. A lot of times you don't have the biggest and best supporting cast, but I know every one of the guys actually try their best, play their hardest, and it showed up into a great season this year. But that's something you got to take into consideration, that Ethan puts those numbers up probably without as much pure skill talent as some players around the country get to have and get to enjoy.
Right, Ethan, there's a lot of talent up there, but there's not a D1 receiver up there. Yeah. There's not, our running game is not a traditional running game to help him out.
Well, I mean, I'll say this out of football, if Ethan he has a shot at getting some Division I offers. I don't know of any football player that I can think of right off the bat that has gotten Division I offers up there before. I mean, you've got some pretty good offers. You've got your Carson Newmans, and those are good schools and pretty good football schools, and ETSU and some places like that. But true Division I offers, they're pretty rare. I mean, there's only 100 Division I schools or so, and most of them are going to offer 20 or 25 kids a scholarship a year. And when you think of the hundreds of thousands of kids around the country that play high school football.
And when we say D1, I mean, we're talking what used to be D1A,
yeah,
bowl championships.
It's now the BCS, but yeah, I'm talking about your SEC teams. Like I said, there are only 117, I think. Your SEC, your Big Ten, your ACC. And I can see Ethan getting some offers for some SEC schools. I could see a Kentucky or a Vanderbilt. I would love to see Tennessee offer Ethan. if he comes up and has a big year, one of the things that limit him a little bit, unfortunately, is his height. I say only 6'1". He measured, I think, 6'1" or 6'1 and a half at the Cougar Combine. A lot of people look for a guy who's going to be 6'4", 6'5". But there's plenty of really good quarterbacks, especially at the college level, but even in the NFL, they're only 6'1". Drew Brees probably 5'11". Russell Wilson won the Super Bowl, he's only 5'11". And I just know with Ethan's work ethic and his ability to study the game and study film.
Well, and his time put into the weight room. I mean, look what he did at the lift-a-thon.
Very strong. He bench pressed 275 pounds at the lift-a-thon. He's not going to dazzle you by running the 4.8, 4.7, 4.6, 40, but he's not a running quarterback. I can see him getting. He's got a good shot at being another All-State year for him, and possibly getting some, like I say, Division I offers. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he got some, especially getting his name out there. He has his own page on Google Rivals and Ethan Jeffers now, and I imagine he may get a star rating of some kind. I'm not sure what it'll be, because that was part of the evaluation period when he goes to camps like this. But he's got his own page on Rivals now, and that's the first Campbell County player I can ever remember getting a page on Rivals. So the sky's the limit for him. And he's a good, smart kid. Good football players I saw playing quarterback. And his choice in girls,
Outstanding.
Best girlfriend I've ever seen. Go Carmen. But that's the Cougar front on football and spring sports. Other football news: the East Tennessee Spartans, Patrick's team, took the field this weekend in Lake City and
Actual game, actual referees.
played the East Tennessee Pirates, full uniforms, full contact, TSSAA officials. Came out, y'all really got it rolling early. Got up 8-0 with your 2-point conversion. Put another touchdown on the board, got 16-0. Ended up scoring 22 points in the first half. Passing game looked pretty good, especially with BT in at quarterback. Defense was just dominating all day. Pirates broke one big run and set them up for their only score of the day in the first half. Y'all were intercepting the ball hawking, put some big hits on some people on some punts, big hits on defense. Pretty much nothing up the middle, allowed on the ground. I say, would you have 7, 8 interceptions?
I think we wound up on the day, I texted to make sure earlier, it was 8 interceptions on the day.
Snuffed out a lot of drives that way. I mean,
we also had a forced fumble and fumble. Nick Frazier had 2 touchdowns, an interception, a forced fumble.
Now, Frazier, you can find the videos on the same channel. Frazier, his ability to take the ball, make something happen with it, and to get downfield and beat the defense. And the BT's got a good arm to get the ball on time to Nick, and got some big plays out of Bobby Smooth Mitchell on defense and offense both.
Yeah, Smooth, he's one of our captains, and he's a real leader. He played at South Doyle and UTC, and I feel lucky to have a talent like Smooth on this team. He's a bulldozer when he runs. I mean, no one tackled him one-on-one all day, I don't think. It was gang tackling.
I found it to be a fairly dominating performance. The team playing its first ever game against a team that I assume the Pirates have been in the league at least a year or two.
I'm not sure, because this is actually a new league.
Well, I mean,
they've been around.
Been a team is what I'm referring to.
And their coach is an established semi-pro minor league coach.
And they did bring some extra players with them that weren't at the scrimmage.
They had a
6'5" receiver.
They had a lineman that defected from the Tennessee Crusaders. Great lineman, good guy. I like him a lot. And he's a very, very tough force on that defense, and we were able to move the ball still.
All in all, it was a good day, a beautiful day for football. It was 65 degrees, sunny, a little bit of wind, enough to keep you cool if you're in the sun. Great product on the field. And, Spartans are 1-0 now, and got a game this week at Jacksboro.
Gibson Field, making my coaching return. I'm actually more nervous about this game than I was the last one. Now we're taking on a team called the Southwest Legends. Now they're technically a new team, but they're 2 established teams that combined. Yeah. And the Tri-State Wildcats were legit. They were a good team for the last several years, and that's part of the. Bell County's got good football.
That's Saturday at 4:30. That's here in Jacksboro. You have Papa John's Pizza at the concession stand, drinks.
We're actually gonna have hot dogs this week.
Children 8 and under get in free, so you can bring your kids out to the game. If they're under 8, it's free admission.
It's, of course I'm biased, it's my team. But I think if you'll come out and just give us a chance, you're gonna like what you see. I mean, if 10 is where I want us to be, we're sitting at about 8.5 right now.
I say go here on the channel you're watching this on and find there's several videos up of the game. I mean, it's just straight up football. I mean, no different than football you'd see up here at the high school or any other level, small college level, something like that.
Talked to a guy at the gym today. He's like, so y'all really are actually playing football against other teams? I'm like, I've been telling people that for months. He's like, I just thought y'all went out and played each other. But no, I mean, we've got a team from Appalachia, Virginia coming. And the weekend after that, we're going to Nashville to play the Franklin Panthers. And they're pretty good.
Where are the Pirates from? Sevierville, maybe?
Yeah, their home field is Gatlinburg Pitt.
So the Pirates are from Gatlinburg. I know there's a team from West Virginia.
We were actually
a couple of teams from
originally scheduled to play the Western Carolina War Eagles. But they were having field issues. And talked to the Southwest Legends coach. They're legit. They're 50 players strong, just big old Indians, basically. Because it's from Cherokee. And it's all these folks that play on this high school that's on the reservation by the casino. And, after they get done, they still play football.
There you go. I mean, it's good football product out.
We'll play a home game in April against a team called the West Virginia Lightning. They have a TV station that comes with them. They have a radio station that comes with them. They have a national minor league football title, and they were ranked 9th in the nation 2 years ago.
That will be quite a challenge for the team. I mean, there's good teams in this league, and I feel the Spartans are one of the good teams. And I know you don't compete for the championship in the league this year because of the new participant rule, but I know you're hosting a bowl game.
And it's actually going to be 2 games in the same day. We're going to invite a team to play us and 2 other teams to play. So it's going to be a day of football.
But as of now, according to the weather forecast we just looked at, and it may be different by the time you see this, hopefully you'll be able to see this by Wednesday morning. As of now, the forecast for Saturday is 62 degrees and partly sunny in the afternoon, so it'll be another good day for football.
Yeah, I mean, we've been blessed both for our jamboree and this Saturday with weather. We've had a smaller but very vocal and loyal crowd. Everything's went pretty good so far, and I say this is my homecoming, folks. I'm asking y'all, come fill Jacksboro up for me one more time.
I say it's a good product on the field, fun to watch. Offense not dissimilar to the high school up here. Lots of
Biggest difference is we have a tight end.
Lots of throwing the ball. They do have a tight end, but it's still lots of they toss it around. There's a little bit more running than probably up here at the high school, but not a whole lot more. Works. I mean, Frazier's he's a great weapon. It gets down the field, and BT's arm's a great weapon. You got to ride your strength in the game.
Right, and Smooth is dangerous. Manny Harness is very. Rodney often asks me how Manny's doing because Manny used to be one of his boys at Clinton.
Now, when it comes time to run, is his name Kendall?
Kendall Edwards.
Kendall, the offensive line opened some holes for him. He was able to get downfield pretty well.
Chris DeMott had a couple decent runs. Keenan Evans had a couple decent runs.
Yeah, I mean, got some good blocks out of the fullback. They got a little pressure on you as we were talking earlier in the second half, but you start getting worn down. I mean, you all have pretty decent depth. I know that fielding a football team with 35 or 40 players is a lot different than fielding a team with 65 or 70
Right.
players as far as your depth goes. But
Now, the Southwest Legends, I talked to their coach last night. He says his magic number is 39. He never has more than 39 on the team he coaches. So we're actually going to have we're going to have greater depth than them. We had greater depth than the Pirates. We're going to have greater depth than the Legends.
I said that game ended up being 22-6. I could have saw it just as easily being something closer to 38-6. But just a few issues here and there, but that's the kind of thing. They always talk about your improvement from your first game to your second game. And you all have room to improve.
Well, like I said, I want to be at a 10. I'm not going 10 as we're perfect, but 10 is the number I want to be at. We're still sitting at 8.5.
And for it to be the first ever game that a team actually played together, an official game with refs, there wasn't a lot of egregious penalties. There were a few offsides, a false start or two, a couple of holds, but no more than you would see out of any other team that had played together for years or practiced together a lot more.
Right.
No pass interference penalties that I recall in the game on you all.
Only one on the Pirates.
Had some pretty good punts. I mean, that's surprising because punting is such a struggle for most people in high school level. And a lot of these players are just out of high school. Cody Webb really boomed some punts pretty well. I mean,
And I'll be honest with you, we've not utilized Chris DeMont or Joseph Jobe as a punter yet, both of whom are rugby-style kickers.
not sure if you're going to have a field goal kicker at any point. I mean, field goals are tough to kick unless you get a lot of practice at it.
Coach Gentry and I have been. We're going to have two open dates in a row in April. Coach Gentry, our goal is to try to get a field goal / extra point unit put together by then. Until then, it's 26 special.
This
Stop it if you
particular
can.
week, there was no need for field goals this week. I mean, it was pretty much.
DeMont actually begged me to let him drop kick one in.
Well, you probably should have. Don asked.
And again, he's a rugby player. He could do it.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't realize that, but you can step back and kick the ball as if you're punting it through the goalpost, and it counts the same as a field goal does. It just never happens in sports.
You might see it out of us before this season's
It
over.
would be something to see. I've never personally saw it in a game happen before. It's more of a thing they did.
And Johnny Majors used to do it.
And it's been many years since that one was really.
Not as a coach, but as a player.
No, I said it was a mainstay of the
I mean-
50s and back.
It's still legal.
If anybody can teach it, I'm sure Coach Gentry can. He's a wonderful
Oh,
specialist.
he and I had a great meeting today. Our special teams this week are going to be leaps and bounds better than.
I'll say it
last
was
week.
a good special teams effort anyway. The punts were covered well. The punts were kicked well. There was one bad snap on a punt. That happens sometimes.
We've been plagued by one bad snap each game we've played. I mean, we had a couple
There were a couple of bad
missed snaps on offense, but
but
none costly like they were in the Jamboree.
I think though that I think things will be fine. The team looked pretty good to me. The game was entertaining to me. I just come out to Jacksboro Saturday and you'll see it's worth a few bucks to come in and spend an afternoon watching football.
You don't get to watch anywhere else in the spring.
Don't get to
In
watch
May,
it.
you'll get to watch Campbell County play a spring game, Jacksboro play a spring game. Maybe we'll follow it.
And and support the guys. I'll say they're all from East Tennessee, and this team is from Virginia. And some of the guys are from Campbell County, like Keenan and Chris and Derek.
And so I mean we've got a wide variety. There's, I know some folks from Anderson County watch this show. I know they do. They tell me they do. A lot of old Mavericks on this team.
I mean, it's a very East Tennessee, upper East Tennessee flavor, kind of like
It's very
Plateau
Norris Highlands.
and this general area, Claiborne County, and
Got one guy from Maryville, one guy from Knox County. Everybody else is pretty much Campbell, Claiborne, and Anderson.
I believe BT's from Alcoa. but he
Actually,
played at
BT's
South
from
Alcoa.
Cincinnati.
Is he from Cincinnati? The guy that was up in the stands with me said he came to BT and said BT was from Alcoa. Not BT, pardon me, I'm thinking of Bobby's Mitchell.
He actually played at South Doyle,
But
though.
they said Bobby, yeah, he's from Alcoa, but played at South Dakota. But it's worthwhile to come out. They support East Tennessee, support your team.
So we're going to have T-shirts and hats soon, too.
Support the local. Really
Lids has
good
actually agreed to start producing an East Tennessee Spartans hat.
It's a very nice looking Spartan hat logo. Black looks good with everything. So you got black as one of the primary team colors. Red. But, it's a good stuff and good thing to come out to on Saturday and see. You can see Carly at the gate probably.
She's awesome like that.
Um,
She usually smells really good, too.
On the other front, we have, of course, the NCAA tournament, and Tennessee's doing really well. I mean, you saw me probably for the last month being really critical of Conzo Martin. He's got it coming together for now. This is why I've been critical of Conzo Martin, as you're seeing now, seeing over the last few weeks.
But the talent's always been there.
The talent is there. We have better players than most other teams do, and this is how we should have been playing most of the season rather than, Tennessee is just wonderful run, great run, and it's hard to beat a Sweet 16 at this school. We were one more loss away from not making the tournament at all. We were literally one of the last 4 teams in the tournament. One more loss and we would not have made it. You would have never got to see this. And that's how close it got. But now you see how good these players can play. Jarnell Stokes is just playing. It's been a lot of years since you saw players. Different style of play, but Bernard King is the last guy to put numbers up like this consistently.
Right.
Like Jarnell has put up in the last month. He leads the country in double-doubles. Bernard King, even though he was a small forward, not as big as Jarnell, he averaged 26 points and 14 rebounds a game for his career at UT. That's just how great Bernard was. He's probably the best player ever played in the SEC. But you're seeing Jarnell put up these 25-point, 18-point, 20-point, but also 17, 18 rebound games. And the other night he had 17 points, 18 rebounds, and 5 assists.
I was saying he had a good assist game.
And he's one of only 4 players in the NCAA tournament history to have that many points, that many rebounds, and that many assists in the same game. And I want to say that the other players that had done that on the list all went to the Final Four in the year of the tournament they did it. One of them was UNLV, and they won the national championship. It was Larry Johnson. Another guy played for UCLA.
Zubaz.
I'm sure that most people don't miss you wearing Zubaz, but
I mean, they were awesome. They had the big running rebel. I missed the Shark too.
the Shark was quite the guy. One of the more dirty coaches in NCAA history, but I admire his stones that he sued the NCAA and won and shut them up. But yeah, I mean, Tennessee playing as well as you can play right now. Hopefully they don't lose that momentum and come out and beat Michigan.
Anytime you can beat Michigan, it's a plus.
Michigan's a very similar team to, they're like a more talented version of Mercer or Iowa. I mean, Iowa beat Michigan by 20 points.
Iowa's actually a very quality team. They just had a bad go towards the end of the season.
They were a pretty big, good rebound team. Tennessee still outstrengthened them. Michigan plays right into Tennessee's hands. Michigan likes to shoot three-pointers. That's what they win on. Tennessee's got a good half-court perimeter defense. They've been keeping teams from doing that. Michigan doesn't rebound the ball well. They're 300th out of about 330 Division I basketball teams. Michigan's in the 300s in rebounding. Tennessee's, I think, 14th or 15th in the nation in rebounding. There's one saying that Pat Summitt always had. That was defense wins games, rebounding wins championships. That's where Tennessee's killing people. Tennessee's killing people on the boards. Jarnell Stokes out-rebounded the entire Mercer team for most of the game.
Oh, he put on just a big man performance.
And when you're getting that many offensive rebounds, that many second shots, you're going to beat teams, and that's what Pat Summitt always stressed on her teams to win championship after championship.
She won a few of those.
You out-rebound the other team, and that's an extra possession for you when you rebound, and it keeps them from getting an offensive rebound, or it gives you an offensive rebound and another shot, and that's how you win. And Michigan, very good guards, but we are very fortunate that Josh Richardson is one of the best defensive guards in the country, and he's been shutting the other team's best player down and scoring 18 or 20 points. That's why I never thought, that's where this team improved so dramatically, is Josh Richardson suddenly went from scoring 9 points a game to averaging 16, 17 points a game in the tournament. And you add 10 points from him. Tennessee's not lost this year when they scored 70 points in a game. The problem being in their losses, they've struggled and been in the 50s a lot. Like Texas A&M, they scored in the 50s, scored in the 40s and 50s against Florida all year. But Tennessee scores 70 points in the game and they're undefeated because they play good defense. It's just been a matter of scoring and a matter of closing out some games that were bad and close games. But I mean, Conzo Martin, I still don't know that he's the answer going forward. The recruiting's going to have to pick up. We're looking at, unless Jarnell Stokes comes back, maybe a really bad year next year.
And by all rights, a Sweet 16 should help.
But you would think so, but he's earned an extension at this point, very likely, and I suspect he's going to get a raise, probably a pretty big raise, and get an extra couple of years on his contract. And we'll see if he actually is the coach that some people seem to think he is, and he's this good. Then we should probably be very close to the NCAA tournament next year, and for sure in it the year after that. Because you don't need to go year 4 and 5 of a coach's career and be getting worse instead of getting better. I mean, Bruce Pearl, I know some people don't like to hear his name now since he went to Auburn, but year 4 and especially year 5, we went to the Elite 8 in year 5. And there was reason to get excited because Pearl signed, I think, 5 top 25 recruiting classes here.
I mean, we had Tobias Harris, and he was just outstanding.
There's a lot of good recruits. That's where Conzo can get a really good player like a Robert Hubbs or Jarnell Stokes. But he's been filling the rest of the class out with people that, frankly, don't really need to be playing at this level, like Njai, barely got off the bench all year. Quentin Chivas, very rarely gets off the bench. A couple other guys like Wes Washburn had to transfer out of here. It's just about, you can afford to miss on maybe 1 out of every 4 or 5 recruits you sign. But about 50% of Kwanzo's recruits so far have been players who don't really contribute or don't give anything significant to the team. And that's really hard to overcome. So we'll see how he does next year. If he wants to come back, he's obviously going to say he's going to get a raise and extension after this season. But for now, just ride it out. Hope we beat Michigan. Hopefully we match up with Louisville. I think we match up better with Kentucky probably, but I hate Kentucky and can never want them to win a game. So hopefully.
And it always hurts worse to watch Kentucky lose, or as far as Kentucky fans go, to lose to Rick Pitino.
Oh, if they lose to either us or Louisville, that's their worst nightmare loss bracket. Our two most arch rivals are in the bracket with them here. Hopefully they get knocked out by Pitino. I don't like Kentucky. Never hope they win a game. Hope they lose every game they play. And I have empathy with Louisville because they're kind of Kentucky's other rival, and we both hate Kentucky.
Right. I can cheer for Louisville just because it makes Kentucky.
It's just like I'm more sympathetic towards Auburn in football. I'm not a big fan of Auburn in football. I'm not a go SEC. Yeah. I'm glad the SEC's doing this guy, but it makes Alabama fans mad when Auburn wins, and that's winning to me.
That is. And honestly, that the worst thing that ever happened basketball-wise to Alabama was Bruce Pearl going to Auburn. Because they wanted him.
They're on suicide watch right now. And the other thing I've been seeing a lot of lately before we go, people are like, well, now, you've been criticizing Conzo Martin. I mean, nobody, I go to a lot of missions, nobody was speaking up in Conzo Martin's defense after that second Texas A&M loss. He had pretty much lost all fan support. And now, the last day or two, there went a bunch of sanctimonious people like, oh, you were criticizing Conzo Martin, aren't you ashamed of yourself? No. I mean, he deserved it. You see how good this team is and how good it was the whole season, and wonder why we're, 1 loss away from missing the tournament completely and losing to really bad teams. And that's the difference between a great coach and a good coach, or a great coach and an average coach. Everybody's going to get upset occasionally, especially in basketball, because it's just the nature of the sport. But when you consistently lose to teams that are much worse than you, that's an issue. And we had 5-6 losses to teams that were clearly worse than us. We have 12 losses right now. Tennessee should have finished this season with about 5 or 6 losses, based on who they played and how talented it is, plus its experience. Because this is a team that's filled with seniors and juniors. Our starting 5 is Barton, a senior, Maimon, a 6th-year senior, Jordan McCray, a senior, Josh Richardson, a junior, and Jarnell Stokes, a junior. There are very few teams in the NCAA that experienced right now. Very few. And especially with that level of talent, because Jordan McCray was a top 50, top 64 star player. Jerron Maimon was a top 50 or top 64 star, and of course Jarnell was a 5-star top 20 player. But we're getting the results now that we should have saw earlier in the year. And that was my big complaint and my worry going forward. When those guys are gone, how's Conzo going to fill it up, because he's not really recruiting at that high of a level right now. His recruiting class was 50th in the country coming in for next year.
His best hope is that Jarnell decides to stay.
No, we desperately need him to stay, but that's about all I have to say.
Well, I'm done. Fans, we'll see you next week.